G'day guys, Chillis20 here, and welcome to episode number 1 of my newest City Skylines series based in the Australian outback. I'm really super stoked to be bringing this series to you. It's something I've been wanting to do for like a year now, and it's something that I've been working on for about 6 months. There's been good reason why it's been taking so long to get this series out onto YouTube, but I'll go into that a little bit later on in the time lapse. First up, I will talk a little bit about this series and what you can expect and the sort of things that I plan to build, because it's going to be a pretty unique series, I think. And I'm going to get into a couple of things a little bit later on. First up, this episode is actually just going to be all terraforming. Now, I'm not usually a fan of time lapses that are just terraforming, but I left it as it was because there's quite a lot of different things I want to talk about that I want to be doing in this series, and I figured it'd be pretty good ideas to show you the kind of ideas I have when I'm actually building this map, and just a bit more of the concept of the actual series in general. So yeah, I mean, basically I'm starting off with a map that's I downloaded. I can't even tell you what it was. It was another map based in Australia. I can't even remember. So sorry if you're watching this and you actually built the map. I do actually completely change it. I don't keep a single thing on the map that I basically downloaded. I kind of had my own idea, and I'm kind of basing this map of an area in Australia that is called Kalgoorlie, and I know a lot of Australians actually commented on the teaser last week and said, oh yeah, this is Kalgoorlie, we know this area, blah blah blah, and you're probably hating me because I actually have called the series I've called the town Broken Hill, which is actually the name of another town in Australia, so it's really confusing for Australians. I've done that because for a couple of reasons. First up, Broken Hill is a really cool name, so I really wanted to use it. Kalgoorlie is a really cool looking town in Australia, which I'll show you some pictures of pretty shortly. And I didn't want to build Kalgoorlie exactly how it was. I wanted to kind of put my own spin on it, and even you guys put your own spin on it, because I would definitely love to build this area with the community and with other people in mind. So similar to Springwood, this series is going to have a particular theme that I'll be driving through the entire build. And that theme there's a couple of different themes. First up, Australia. It's set in Australia. It's going to be all Australian themed. I've got new assets that are all Australian, and hence the reason why it's taken so long. I've got a lot of different ideas as well, based on classic Australian icons and things that we do in Australia that I guarantee nobody else is doing in other countries. And so that's one part of the whole theme of this series. But secondly, this series is based in the Australian outback, and in the Australian outback, in particular areas, particularly in Western Australia, there's a huge focus on mining, and that's something I really wanted to work on in this series, is put a real focus on ore mining within Australia. And it's something that when you go out into the outback, and it's not even the outback, just anywhere in Western Australia, you see so many of these giant trucks just driving around, and they're all covered in this red dust because they've just been driving for thousands of kilometers from out in the heart of the outback. And they might be somewhere on the coastline, and they've just got this really powerful imagery of Australia. And so I really wanted to have a real focus on mining in Australia. In particular, this area is going to be ore. So there's going to be a massive ore mine that you've probably seen in the teaser. And I've based that off the one that's in Kalgoorlie. Now, the one in Kalgoorlie is actually a gold mine, so it's quite a different sort of style. But what I really love about the mine in Kalgoorlie, and I'm going to show you some photos right now, is the mine is just so close to the town, and it's giant. It's like a giant mine, and it kind of sits up on this hill, so it's a little distance from the town. But while you're kind of driving around the town, and I've been to Kalgoorlie a couple of times, you just got a real presence of the mine. There's still trucks driving around the town, and everybody's in miner gear, and you can hear the mine and you can see all the lights glowing from the mine. It's a really interesting part of Australia. So, that's something that I really wanted to kind of feature in this series. And even the bushland of Kalgoorlie is really interesting. It's a pretty unique area. I mean, all of Western Australia is pretty unique. Australia's pretty bloody unique. But I really like the area of Kalgoorlie. It's not exactly what I think a lot of people would imagine Australia to look like. I know a lot of people imagine Australia as desert, but in all actual fact, Australia is, even the desert is full of bush and full of wildlife, and Kalgoorlie is no exception. It's total outback, red earth, really scorching hot and really dry, but the landscape is still full of vegetation. It doesn't mean that there's forest lands. I mean, there are quite a lot of forests around this sort of area, but we call it bush. I mean, it's just Australian outback bush. There's not really just areas of nothing, just dry, total sand. There are some areas, but in this sort of particular place that I'm building, we call it bush, like bushland. So that's something that I'm going to be also kind of featuring in this series, is actually work on a lot of natural areas. And also out in the bush, there are quite a lot of different industrial parks and neighborhoods, not even neighborhoods, kind of like outskirt towns, and just really interesting little bits and pieces that really feature in Australia. I've done quite a lot of traveling around Australia, particularly in the outback, and driving around the country is just so much quirk. Like, it's just always like, it always feels so weird. Like you always find like really weird bits and pieces and places and sculptures and towns, and nothing really ever makes sense. It always feels really bizarre, and the landscape is really bizarre, and everything's just really strange and interesting. So I don't know, maybe that's what kind of drove me to make a series based in Australia. I'm not really sure, but I actually kind of remember probably about 6 months ago, somebody asked about making a series in Australia, and I kind of, didn't really even think about it. I was just like, oh yeah, like, no, I'm not going to ever do that. But now that's, I don't know, like, I've just kind of like thought about it a little bit more, and I'm kind of more interested in it. And I think I'm coming to terms of how diverse and different Australia is to probably other countries, and it's probably quite different to what other people think in other countries of what Australia actually is like. So I mean, I think that's probably why I'm more interested in making it. So yeah, I mean, that's what you can expect from this series. Outback, mining, towns, focus on landscape. Yeah, I think it's going to be quite a different sort of series. So this town, the main town in this region, is going to be called Broken Hill, and chosen Broken Hill because I do love the name. Broken Hill is actually the name of a town that is in New South Wales, where I live. I don't live in Broken Hill, but I live in New South Wales. And Broken Hill is like another, I think it might be an ore mine. Actually, it might even be, I can't remember what it is. I can't remember what mine it is. But they've got a massive mine out there. And it's, I didn't really want to make Broken Hill. Didn't even really want to make Kalgoorlie, but I kind of wanted to make something based off somewhere in Australia. It does help me to model off a particular area rather than just kind of going off somewhere that I don't really know. And right now, actually, I'm working on, you probably have no idea what I'm working on, but I'm actually working on a lake that is near a town called Norseman. It is actually located pretty close to Kalgoorlie. And I've driven through this area. When I was driving past it, I had no idea that I'd kind of encounter anything like this. And it's quite an interesting area. It's a dried up lake. It's just full of salt, and I guess in the rainy season it's full of water. And it's quite a cool area. They've got this road that darts across an area of the lake, and this train line that also kind of darts across it too, which is never saw any trains go past it go across it when I was there, but now that I've made it and I see a train going past it looks pretty awesome. So yeah, that's something I really wanted to make. And Norseman, the town, that's an area that I'm going to eventually make too, but I might call it a different name. And you know, that kind of brings me to my next point. I think there's actually a lot of Australians who build in City Skyline to own it. I know a couple of them are watching have been part of my channel for quite a while. So if you are an Australian, please let me know in the comments below. Give me a hello, and yeah, I mean, let me know if you are from an area like this or been to an area like this in Australia. And even if you're international and you've been to an area like this, please let me know. I love your feedback and I'd love some suggestions. Definitely don't want to just build this totally by myself. Would love some suggestions from everybody else. So something that I'm trying to work on right now is just the texture of this lake. It's so tricky to get. I mean, looking at Google right now, and it's just a really red, strange area. Like I just couldn't quite get it. And there's lots of different textures, and you know, as much as I tried, probably couldn't achieve it as much as I could. To be honest, probably didn't really need to go into huge amounts of detail because it's not going to be a massive focus point. It's just a bit of land. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting kind of working on this little spot. Before I get too carried away talking about this, I do also want to talk about the fact that the color of the video is changing quite a lot. And that's me playing with the settings. This is very early stages. I mean, I did this video probably about 6 months ago. So I mean, it's pretty old. And the reason why I'm changing so much is because I'm just experimenting with what color I want to use, what LUT I want to use for this map. I have decided on that now. It's in the description below. But right now I'm really experimenting with the different contrasts and colors and different things I want to use in this map. Australia's a pretty unusual color, I think, especially the outback. It's just red. It's just a red earth. And I just could not find any colors like that in on the Steam Workshop. What I'm actually using in this map is the texture, the theme is, I'm actually using Theme Mixer Mod because I just couldn't find a theme that was exactly how I wanted. So I'm using quite a lot of different themes, ranging from all sorts of different things. So, I mean, I'm not going to really go into too much of that because I'm not sure if you're really that interested in it. And also, a lot of people, when I posted the teaser, people kind of asking whether I'm going to release the map on Steam, and I do plan to, but at the same time, it's going to be kind of hard to recreate it. You're going to need to use Theme Mixer mods to achieve the entire look, and pretty much, well, actually all the trees that I use are from the workshop. So, I mean, it's not going to be something you can just download and use straight away. It's going to be a bit tricky to use. But if you are interested in using this map, please let me know in the comments. And if I've got enough of you, I don't mind going to the effort and releasing the map. I'm totally happy to do that. And on the whole idea of this being a pretty unique build, there was not a huge amounts of assets that I could choose from when I first started doing this series. I really had to talk to new people, and kind of like figure out the sort of things I really wanted to include in this series. I've got a couple of asset creators who are helping me out. I've got B Squigglehouse. He's made me a train. I could not have done this series without a train that really fits the Australian theme, that had a giant an ore trailer and was covered in red dust. So I mean, he's very kindly made me a train that you'll actually see in some of the time lapse in a little while, and it's even written. He's gone to quite a lot of beautiful little details that I won't go into. I'll save them for the cinematics in the end. And also Crazy Glueit, who has actually made a ton of other building assets that I've used in Springwood. And yeah, I mean, I got in touch with him, and turns out he's actually lived in Australia for a little while. He has a dual citizenship, which is pretty awesome. He's from America actually, so I was pretty stoked to find him. He was so willing to make some classic Australian buildings. They're actually already up on the Steam Workshop, so I mean, if you're interested, please go and support him and download those assets. They're bloody awesome, and I'm really keen to put them down. I actually haven't really used too many of them. I'm not up to that stage in this series just yet. What I'm doing right now is kind of a bit unique, and what I'm doing is I really wanted to capture the uniqueness of the Australian outback and the vegetation that's out there. So I kind of wanted to find all the Australian trees and anything that kind of looked like it belonged out in the outback, and I just plopped it all down in a line, tried to figure out which things I wanted to use. As you can see there, I'm using Savannah grass. I think it's crazy low. It's by P. Delmo, and he always makes his assets crazy low. And, you know, because I'm using it quite a lot in this map, I didn't want it to take up too much space. But I'm also using these beautiful trees by Mr. Mason, and I mean, they're awesome. So I'm using them because they're just perfect for this environment, and there's nothing quite like them on the workshop. So this kind of area right now is I'm basing it off these pictures that you're looking at right now. And this is kind of like your more standard outback scene, I guess, I'd imagine. I kind of wanted to have this area to look like this. And what I can actually do is, once I kind of plan out what I want each area to look like, I can actually just use Move It to copy and paste that entire section. You'll see me do that quite shortly, but I just copy and paste it, and yeah, it works so well rather than actually plopping down each bit. And as you can see, I feel like to capture the Australian outback, all the vegetation out there, I couldn't really just, you know, plaster down a type of tree. You know, it has to be growing in the right way. So I really have to kind of go with that. Right here, I'm kind of like working on a bit of a grassland, kind of a little bit more, a lot more vegetation, and also probably less of a diverse amount of trees. So I'm kind of going to go for a couple and a little bit taller in some areas. And for the last one, I kind of wanted to work on something that was more kind of like a low shrub sort of a look. And you know, this one is something that I'm probably going to use the most in this sort of area. It kind of fits the best. And most of the trees that I'm using for all this, I think pretty much all the trees I'm using is either P. Delmo or it's either Mr. Mason. And this is why I'm saying that if you download the map, you have to kind of subscribe to all these assets. I did this so annoying thing. I did all this work that you're seeing right now and placed down the entire map, which is what you're seeing right now. And then I forgot to subscribe to the trees, and then I saved it, and then I lost all this hard work that I just did. So I actually have fixed it since then, but hence another reason why this series has been about 6 months in the works, in the making. But yeah, I mean, what I'm doing is I'm just copying and pasting that whole look, and it works so well. It's such an easy thing to do. And it just makes a lot more sense rather than actually just plastering down one type of tree, because this outback really just doesn't just have one type of tree. But guys, look, I mean, I'm going to leave it there. I don't really want to talk for too much. I'm going to run out of things to say for sure. Thank you so much for your interest in this series. I hope you enjoy the rest of the time lapse. If this has been something that you've enjoyed, something you've been looking forward to, liking this video helps out a lot. It actually helps to push this video to more people, and more people join, which is way more encouraging when I got lots of people checking it out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this series. I'm super stoked, and yeah, looking forward to making it with you guys. That's pretty much it for me, guys. Enjoy the rest, and I'll catch you in the next episode.